In this video, you're going to learn how to build an app using multiple AI editors. So we're going to start in Lovable. We're also going to use Cursor, Windsurf, and Claude Code, all with the same code repository. So you're going to see how you can use different AIs and how they work differently. And you're going to learn my suggestion of which one you use for different use cases. So let's build a SaaS app similar to Todoist. And I'm going to go ahead and I'll change it to private, and I'm just going to start. And we're going to let Lovable start our project. So I typically like starting with Lovable or Bolt, for example, because these are fully no-code tools that allow anyone with no technical knowledge to get started. It does a lot of the helpful work you need to get your app off the ground. Like, it has all of these components that it'll set up. It'll help us integrate Supabase really easily for authentication and database. So it does a lot off the bat that I really like. So we're going to start. Let's let it build and get our first draft here. And then I'm going to show you how we can use the same code through GitHub in Cursor, Windsurf, and Claude Code. Okay, so here we are in the first generation that Lovable created. I'm really impressed with this. So what it did is it's using currently just like the local state to save projects or to save tasks, essentially. So we haven't hooked it up to Supabase yet, but we definitely can do that. That's something we're going to do. But otherwise, I think this looks really good. So I think as a starting point, this is awesome. So I'm just going to create a new project here in Supabase, and I did that just by going up to the top, clicking Supabase, and then connecting a project. So let me just give it a name. It's going to be Lovable Test YouTube, and we'll add a password, and we can go ahead and create a new project. So just give Supabase a few minutes to create this project, and I'm going to pause the video and I'll go back to Lovable once it's done. Okay, so we created the project. I'm just going to go and connect it, Lovable Test YouTube, and we're going to connect. So by connecting this is going to allow Lovable to generate authentication, which is the sign in, sign out functionality, and it's going to create the database as well. So it's connected, and now we can add powerful features. So I'm going to say, let's build authentication. Authentication so users can sign in and out. So we'll do that first. And I really like building kind of this authentication through Supabase and through Lovable directly, because it just has a really good integration. Also, any API calls that you're going to do, so let's say you want to integrate OpenAI, connect to another service, Lovable does a really good job of handling all of that through Supabase. Supabase has something called edge functions, which allow you to do that. So here, we just have to apply these changes. This is just creating basically all the tables and rules and permissions for our users, and to have that sign-in functionality, and so that, you know, the right users are going to see the right things, basically. We can see there's projects, tasks, for example. So it kind of created all of this right there. For development and testing, you might want to disable email verification. I agree with that, and it gives us a link to just click there, and we're going to uncheck confirm email and hit save. And that way, when someone creates an account, they don't have to actually confirm their email. So here we go. We have our authentication page, and then the index page should probably load back to the authentication page if we're not logged in. So I'm going to go ahead and click sign up. Registration is successful. So it still has that messaging about email, even though we turned it off, but it should still work. And I'll click sign in, and here we go. So ideally, we would probably build it so that you would just jump right into signing in, but that's okay. It's not a problem. So here, let's say go to the gym. And we got an error adding task, new row. Okay, perfect. So this is a great way to show how you can debug these things. So I'm going to just describe what I did. So I'm going to say I logged in, tried adding a task, but got this error. So I'll just copy that in, and this is also good that Lovable built it in a way so that these errors will show up here so you can debug it really easily. So I promise we're going to jump into Cursor and Windsurf really soon so you can see what those look like as well, especially if you might feel intimidated by those. You'll see there's really nothing to be scared of. It's actually pretty easy to use once you get set up. So let's see, it says there's an error. So we're not correctly setting the user ID. So it's just gonna update that. It says it should be updated. So let's try. Go to the gym. There we go. Successfully added. Awesome. So it was able to debug and solve that for us. So we can go back and forth. So what we're going to do now is click on GitHub. And we're going to connect GitHub. So you have to connect your GitHub account. If you don't have a GitHub account, you can create one for free. It's as simple as that, just creating that. And now you have a GitHub repository with all of the code for this game. So it's Lovable is not locking you in at all. You have all the code. All the code here is in GitHub, and I can edit this any way that I want to. So this is everything. So if I go to Supabase, for example, we can see the configuration file. If we go to public, src, components, header, this is the code that Lovable created. So what I'm going to show you now is how to put this over into, or connect it essentially into Cursor, and we're going to learn how to build in Cursor and actually edit our app in Cursor instead of Lovable. So you're just going to download Cursor. It's free, and you should be able to use it for free as well. We're going to click the clone repo button. So then it's just saying provide the URL from GitHub that you want. So I'm going to go to the code here. I believe we have to go to settings and actually change this to, I think if we do it in this way, we need to make it public. So I'm just going to change the visibility here and change it to public. I want to make it public. I understand. And then I just have to verify it on my phone. Okay, so I just approved it. So now this is not private anymore. So I'm just going to copy the URL. And there are other ways to do this. I could have just downloaded the code and opened the project, but I just think this is an easy way to do it where you just paste the URL in. I can just say clone from URL. We're going to select a destination. It's going to essentially download our project. It says not found. So let's try. Oh, you know what? I think I was on the wrong URL. I have to be on the code here. Let's do that one more time. Clone repo, select here. And there we go. So it cloned the repository. So just to kind of briefly explain how this works, in GitHub, we have all of our code in the cloud, and we are downloading that onto our local device, which in our case is my laptop. So we're going to make changes to the code in our laptop. We're going to be able to preview it, and that's not going to affect GitHub, and it's not going to affect Lovable, because Lovable is using the code from GitHub directly. But once we test this, we make changes, we push the changes to GitHub, and I'll show you it's really not that hard to do, and you'll see it's not that hard. You can definitely do it. And then once you push it to GitHub, it will be reflected in Lovable, and you can then use Lovable if you want. So when you make changes in Lovable, it's going to automatically update GitHub. And then if you make changes in Cursor or Windsurf or Claude Code, you need to push those changes back to the cloud, essentially. So think about it as there can be different versions. And then if you push changes, you want to revert. There's ways to do that as well. I don't need to get into that in this video. But here we are in Cursor. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to toggle this panel here. I like to have the terminal open. And then here I'm going to toggle this on the upper right. Okay, so the first thing that we can do is try to run this code locally on our computer. So to do that, I'm going to teach you a command. It's npm run dev. And right off the bat, we're getting command not found. Is it npm dev run potentially? npm run dev. So what I'm going to do is the command is not found. So I'm going to add to composer and say, how do I debug this and preview my app? So this is a lot of what you can do in Cursor, which is really nice, is you just literally copy and paste the error, put it into the composer, and it's going to tell you what to do. So here, it's telling me exactly what to do. Make sure I'm in my project directory, install the required dependencies. So npm install, you can just click run, and it's going to install that into our code here. Then after installation, do npm run dev, which was what I was trying to do. So here we go. Now I just did that, and now we can follow this link, and this is now our app on our local system. So this is not connected to the internet. It's just our app on our local system. But I should be able to log in with the same credentials I already used because it's still connected to Supabase. Okay, so here I just logged in, and something to clarify, yes, I'm running this code on my local computer, but that doesn't mean I don't have access to the internet, and it's still connecting to Supabase via the internet, but the code itself is hosted here on my computer. Okay, so, and if for whatever reason you try to do anything in Cursor and you get an error, just put it into the composer and ask, how do I solve this? And it might say, oh, you need to install Python onto your system, or you need to install something onto your system to make it work, and it'll just tell you how to do it. So I had to do a little bit of that when I was first getting Cursor set up. Okay, so let's actually code. Let's do some vibe coding here. So under a component, and I'll show you how easy it is. So just like in Lovable, where you chat with an AI, we're going to do the same here, but same thing here. We're going to do it in the composer. So under the composer, let's say, let's make the color of the sidebar and logo red instead of purple. So just a simple change. I'll go ahead and paste that in. And here, it's going to do it. So basically, it kind of has our code base index. So in theory, it knows where to go. It's making the change. And then we can go ahead and refresh. And let's say accept all. And let's go back and let's see. So I don't see any changes. So what I'm going to do is let's debug this. I'm going to paste in an image. And I'm going to paste that in, and I'm going to say, I still see purple and not red. And this is where you can kind of debug and go back and forth. So now it's going to say, okay, I need to actually see exactly where they are. Can you share the files? So what I'm going to say is can't. Oh, you know what? I think I know what the issue is. So here I'm in normal mode. I need to open up a new composer, and we need to switch to agent mode. So it was as simple as that. I totally forgot. So on Cursor, we need to switch to agent mode. So here is that plus button where you can start new chats. Switch to agent, and now I'm going to say, please update the main color of the app from purple to red. So this is what we need to do. In agent mode, it's going to actually make these changes itself. So we're looking to verify they're working. Okay, so now what I'm going to say is, here is an image showing purple instead of red. Okay, so now it's going to say, I see what the issue is. There might be other files. So this is what we wanted. This is what I wanted to show you. Forgot there's just one extra step in Cursor to make this work. It's searching the code base, and it is should hopefully be making the update now. Okay, so here we go. We can see in our live preview here, we can see it updated, and that's exactly what I wanted. It's also looks like it's kind of still making a few more updates just to make sure it works everywhere. But I can see it already made that update, which is pretty cool. So what we can do, it says it made these changes, which is great. I'm going to click accept all. So what you can do is you can preview it. If you don't like what it did, you can click reject and start over. I'm going to click accept. And now here we are on our local system with that update. So now what I'm going to do, before I jump into Windsurf, I'm going to actually show you how to push this live. So one thing you can do if you're on a Mac, go into the terminal on the bottom, click Control C to get back to where you can actually make commands. And I'm going to show you 3 commands how you can push this live to GitHub, which will also update Lovable. So if we do git add dot git commit dash M, and then you put in quotes what you want to label this. So I'm going to say change color to red. And then you do git push origin main. Main is the name of the branch that Lovable created. In theory, main could be a different name of a different branch. A branch is different ways to kind of have different versions of your app, but you don't have to worry too much about that for now. But here we go. So it made that change and it pushed everything we just did on our local system to the cloud. So now if we go back to Lovable, first of all, you can see on the left, we have external commit, change color to red. So it knows that we made this other commit from somewhere else to our GitHub, and it's just getting that code from GitHub. And here we go. We can see the red is working perfectly here. So that essentially is synced now. And now you can make a change here. And let me show you actually if we do that. So let's say, please change the auth color from red to blue. Color scheme. And I'm just doing simple changes just so we can focus on kind of how it works going back and forth. So let's let it load that really quickly. Let's give it a second. Okay, so here we are. It changed the color now to blue. But if we go back to the preview here, and this preview, so this is our local host. This is connected to our local machine. And if I refresh, actually it's the connection isn't there. I can get that back by going back to Cursor, going npm run dev, which will open that up again. And here we go. So now we have our local host. But here we can see it's a live blue, and this is what's connected in GitHub. So I'm going to show you, if you make changes there and then you want to go back to Cursor, we want to make sure that we are on the same code base. Otherwise, it's going to start to get a little bit complicated. So it's as simple as a simple command of git pull origin main. Pull instead of push. We did push before to send. Pull is to pull in all of the updated code. And there we go. We just updated it. And if we refresh, actually, I'm going to have to restart the server again. So we'll just do that really quickly. Here we go. And now on our local system, it's blue. So you can see how you can kind of go back and forth like that. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to show you how to use Windsurf with this. So I have to download Windsurf, and here we are. We're going to open a folder. And we're just going to open the folder that we already have on our system, which was Action Breeze. And here we go. So now we had a kind of similar setup to Cursor. So here on the right side, we have 2 different options. Right is going to be where it's going to basically be more like Lovable, where it's going to know exactly what to do. It's going to make code changes. It's going to just do it all for you. Chat is going to be just asking questions. One thing that I really like about Windsurf is it has the ability to search the internet. So if I want to connect to an API, I can just paste in the API docs and it will search and understand them and know how to connect. I personally found Windsurf a little bit better at being an agent. So being able to, especially as your code base gets more complex, being able to know exactly how to solve a problem. You're not going to notice this when you first get started with this simple app that we have now, but as it gets more complicated, as of now, I found Windsurf to be a little bit better than Cursor for my needs. So let's go ahead and let's test this out. So let's, instead of changing the color every time, why don't we do something a little bit different? So let me think. Let's say, so here's what it did. I actually think it made some mistakes. So what I'm going to do is copy this. Just going to paste it in. I'm going to say, this is what I see. I think there are some bugs to fix. And it can see them, which is kind of cool. And it'll let it fix them one by one. Okay, so this is what it did. And, it looks, I mean, it actually doesn't look great. It's definitely messed up some of this. So what I'm going to do is, instead of debugging it through Windsurf, let's use Claude Code. And I think this is a good time to show you it because in my experience, Claude Code has been able to solve problems that Cursor and Windsurf and Lovable have not been able to solve. It is pretty expensive, but it's able to solve problems really well. So to do this, we're just going to open our terminal. First of all, you need to go to Anthropic, go to Claude Code, download it onto your computer. They're going to help you set it up and get your API key set up with it, so you can pay for it. But here we are. We have to go into our terminal, into our folder. If you don't know how to do this, just go to your Finder, find the folder, right click, and you can say open in terminal. So here we are in terminal. We're just going to go /Claude Code. Whoops, I think it's just Claude Code maybe. Yep, Claude Code. Okay, so what it's going to say is it may read files, etc., etc. I'm going to say proceed. And what it's doing is it's helping us get started. Just going to click proceed. It's basically creating it's basically understanding all of the components. So I think it did all that. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, please fix the UI UX design on the inbox. I think the inbox and today page. And I'll just do it as simple as that. So let's do that. And then here we can see what it's doing. You can see how long it's taking, and it's all doing it in the same file. So any changes that are made here are going to update in Cursor and Windsurf because we're just all connected to the same file. Once we're ready to push our updates live, we can go into Cursor, Windsurf, or Terminal and do our git commands to push the changes live to Lovable. So let's go back to the terminal. Let's find it here. We can see it's still doing it, 38 seconds. I'm just going to pause the video until it is finished. And I'm just going to go ahead and say yes. We can make the edit. I'm going to actually go down and say yes and don't ask again. I'm just going to let it make the changes. I'm okay with it making changes on its own. All right, so it finished. We can see it tells us the changes that it made. And let's test it out. So let's add a task, clean the room. And there we go. It adds it. I like everything that it did. It did a really nice job. And this is why, in my opinion, I think Claude Code might be the best of all of them, even though it's in the terminal. It does a really good job. Something that's kind of interesting to see, if I do /cost, we can see that so Claude Code is expensive. That costs 72 cents just for that one feature. I've been using it in another project and I've done a lot with it, but it still has cost maybe $12. So not everything is going to cost like 72 cents per request. But this was, a lot. This took 5 minutes to do. It did a lot of lines of code and it was pretty expensive. So you can see how Claude Code can add up pretty fast, but I think it's the best in terms of kind of getting it right on the first try. At least as of now, all of these tools are improving every single day. But anyway, I hope that you found this helpful. Actually, before we finish, let's just go back to our terminal. I can even go to terminal. I can leave this. So I'm going to say /exit. And then I'm going to do git add. I can do it from this terminal. Git add git commit -m new design git push origin main. So let's push that. Let's go back to Lovable. Let's refresh. And we should have our new design that we just pushed. Let's sign in. And just something to note, sometimes I find when you're back in Lovable, you have to refresh a couple times to get the new design. But here we can see that new design is here in Lovable. So I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you watched this far, you learned how to start a project in Lovable, sync it to GitHub, use the same project in Cursor, Windsurf, and Claude Code. So 3 different AI editors, including Lovable, and you learned how to use those editors to make changes and also push those changes to GitHub so you can have it all synced together. So I hope that you enjoyed this. If you have any questions at all, leave a comment below. Also, let me know what you want to see in future videos. Be sure to subscribe to our channel to get more videos like this for free in the future. Also, check out No Code MBA. It's in our description. It is an in-depth course platform teaching you how to build with AI and no-code tools from start to finish, taught by experts in the industry. So thanks again for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.